Sixth verse. Mruduttamam vachane drushishitalam Mruduttamam vachane drushishitalam Vikasitam vadane sarasiruhe Vikasitam vadane sarasiruhe Manasi shunyamah shashi sannibhe Manasi shunyamah shashi sannibhe Rudhilasantamananta ivarunam Rudhilasantamananta ivarunam Together Mruduttamam vachane rudishitalam Vikasitam vadane sarasiruhe Manasi shunyamah shashi sannibhe Rudhilasantamananta ivarunam. In speech he is extremely soft, in look cool and compassionate. His face is like a full-blown lotus. His mind is a void like the moon in daylight. He shines in the heart as the sun in the sky. Each one we can take it. See, who is a sadhu? What is the expression of a sadhu? Firstly, he is extremely forgiving. He doesn't hold hatred, dislike towards anyone or anything, not just human beings, towards animals also. And secondly, he is very, very soft spoken. Mrudu bhashi, mrudu tamam vachane. Vachan is words and mrudu is soft spoken words, not harsh like us. I don't care. बोलता रहता हूँ ना बेटा, वैसे नहीं. Very softly. And Shitalam, his Drishi Shitalam, his looks are cool. You see the yogis, many of them you will see, those who have done Kundalini Abhyas, those who have done Yoga Abhyas, those who have done Tratak focusing on the sun or flame or dot on the wall, those who have done Tratak, those who are not subjective but objectively doing the sadhana, you will see a fierceness in their look. Whereas you look at Ramana Maharishi's eyes, they melt you. You can feel the compassion just by looking at the photograph, how it would have been when he was there. So this fierceness in the eyes is due to intense tapasya. But intense tapasya objectively, not subjectively. That's when it happens. Where you are putting too much efforts to control the senses, to control the mind, to control the thoughts, to control who am I. You get the 3 lines of Shiva without using the powder. So, and that all leads to, when you go, I have come across many masters like that. They do not allow you to touch their feet. They go around with their own cook. They won't eat from someone else's hand. There are even people, if they go to someone's house, all the ladies have to go out of the house. In certain sects, it is like that. It's nothing right or wrong. Don't bring womanism here. It is how it is. But these and they call themselves sadhus. It should be all inclusive, no? But they are following that. It's okay. But Ramana Maharishi is unlike all those who create distinctions, who maintain differences. Anyone could approach him, anyone could fall at his feet, anyone could question him, it's his response, whether he remains silent or he speaks something, but he was open to everyone. So here when it says, in speech he is extremely soft, him look cool and compassionate, you felt welcome. It's not like someone comes, again the problem has come. No, if that is the end, people can catch. Yesterday Amma was asking me, Swami, you are looking irritated. I said, irritated? I am looking. Was I looking irritated? Maybe. said it, she's doctor. She knows how to catch. But what was then when I started, yeah, maybe there is a wince on my face because of the pain in the hip. So it's continuous, it's unrelenting. And that pain is expressing as a grimace on the face. And that probably what I could come to. I was absolutely okay. So, but Ramana Maharshi, he was having cancer, he was having so many problems in his body, but always a smile on his face, always coolness in his eyes, always softness in his speech, always ready to help others. His face like a full-blown lotus. Before we saw the sun was shining and the clouds were dispersing. Clouds of the mind were dispersing. Now the sun is shining. Here in this example, the sun is shining in the heart and the lotus is the face and it is glowing. It's opened up fully, effulgently and showering its grace on everyone. And then his mind is void like the moon in daylight. In the daylight you can't see the moon because the moon gets light from the sun. In the daytime, the sun's rays are more effulgent than the reflected light on the moon. Similarly, in Ramana Maharshi, the mind is empty. Just like in the daytime we can't see the moon, but it is there somewhere. Where is it? You can't see it. Same way, where is the mind? He can't see it. He is all that there is, the self effulgence everywhere. And it is so powerful that in its power, because without the self, mind cannot function. Isn't it? But now when the self has come forth, the mind loses its luster. When mind loses its luster, that is told here as Manasi Shunyamaha Shashi Sannive. Just like this moon, the mind becomes, loses its, or becomes void in the daylight or when the self shines. He shines in the heart as the sun in the sky. So, what is the sky? Sky is space. In space, the sun is shining. Where is Ramana Maharishi shining, or the self is shining? He is shining in the space of our heart. See, how do you nourish a plant? Do you nourish the plant by watering its leaves, or do you nourish the plant by watering the roots? Right? So he is in your heart. You nourish yourself. You nourish your mind by focusing on him in your heart. He has already nourished his mind completely. That's why it has become ineffective. It has become empty. It has become void. Just like even though moon is there, yet it cannot be seen. Same way in Ramana Maharshi, even though the mind is there, but it is unmanifest. Because that's the nature of the mind, no? Manifest and unmanifest. But it is unmanifest. Why? Because the self is shining in its full glory. Continuing. Adhayamatmatanau kathinam vrate, Adhayamatmatanau kathinam vrate, Parusha chittamalam vishaya vraje, Parusha chittamalam vishaya vraje, Rishimaroshamapeta manoratham, Rishimaroshamapeta manoratham, Drutamadam ghanachalli, Dhrutamadam ghanachillahari vashat, Ghrutamadam ghanachillahari vashat. Together. Adhayamatmatanau katinam vrate, Parusha chittamalam vishaya vraje, Rishimaroshamapeta manoratham, Ghrutamedam dhanachillahari vashat. Pitiless to his body, strict in the observance of discipline, wholly averse to the delights of the senses, he is the sage without anger or desire besides himself, with the joy of pure awareness. See, once I have never met Ramana Maharshi. We only know him through the books, but something similar. we experienced in 1998 after the studies in the ashram. I was on the whole India tour and I went to Tirumala and I climbed the Arunachala. When at 8, 9 o'clock we started climbing. So in the middle of the heat we were up there. The rocks were, and we went barefoot. And the rocks were so hot, oh my God. And, but Arunachala, Arunachala, Arunachala. पहुंच गए ऊपर. Why we went there? It's not to climb the mountain. We climbed up because there was one Swami living on the top. His name was Narayana Swami. He was living in the temple called the temple of Arunachala, Tiruvannamalai, called Arunachaleshwara temple. So he was living there, and one day, as usual, every day he used to go to the priest, and the priest used to feed him whatever the prasad is. He used to give him. One day the priest did not, said come after some time, because the priest was waiting for some VIP. So God also has to wait when VIP or minister comes. So once, twice, third time when this Narayana Swami went to him, he says, hey, my time, I am hungry, please give me the prasad. He says, you have left everything and residing in this temple and doing your tapasya and only thinking about food all the time or what? Go back home. Suddenly it clicked to him. Yeah, man. 3 times I asked for food. You can justify. I'm a sannyasi, I can ask for 3 times this, that. But he took it it hurt him. And he was disturbed. Yeah, have I left everything only for food? The whole day I'm thinking, now it is 12 o'clock, I need my food. It is 12:15, I didn't get my food. Now it's 12:30, again I did not get my food. I have not taken the Lord's name. I am not doing my contemplation. He got so disgusted with himself. He left the temple there, and then he took some tarpaulin, tarpaulin, the plastic sheets, and some sticks, went to the top. Nobody can come. Went to the top of the Arunachala, and on the west face he built a small with those sticks and that just one piece of plastic at this angle, and he's sitting, and he sat in Padmasana. For 7 years he sat there. He did not get up for food, did not get up for drink, nothing. Then self-proclaimed disciples from the area, they started giving him milk. They started first he was eating food. He had to, then now where to go for toilet? Can't do it on Arunachala. Can't do shushu on Arunachala. He had to come every time down. Within few days he said, hey, this is not working. I think I'll stop drinking and I'll stop eating. So no question of shushu and shishi. So then he used to take only sips of water, so it gets completely absorbed. And that also water mixed with the herbs on Arunachala. Many great divine herbs are there on the Arunachala mountain. So the disciples picked up and used to just sip because it's so hot up there. And we went to have his darshan. The motivation was his darshan. Because no place is great without a saint. Arunachala by himself is great, but now on top of it, double dose of grace. Mahatma is also there. So he was there, and we didn't know that you can meet him only between 10 and 11. By the time we started at 9 o'clock, we reached about 11:30 or so. And now after having come up, no, we have to meet Swamiji, we have to meet. And we slowly went towards it. Suddenly one stone came, it hit us. Then we were 4 of us. The other one went, again he also got one stone. Third one, again he got one stone. This is how he used to keep everyone at bay. Raman Maharishi also, this is live, I have seen this person. Now he got sick and then someone went up and brought him down. Raman Maharishi, when he left home and came to Arunachala, Tiruvannamalai, and stayed in the temple, when you enter the temple, on the right hand side there is a Patal Linga, a very small space He was so thin, he had not eaten. He crawled between those things and went inside the path. No pathway to get there. And he sat there and did tapasya and meditation for days together without food or drink. Without food or drink. We want a cup of water when we sit. No, doctors have said you should keep sipping water. You must lubricate yourself. No, I want only hot water, not cold water. I don't want salt. Blood pressure will go up. Doctors tell you eat 5 times a day. I'm eating 2 times a day. My sugar is all okay. Still okay. So imagine, this is all, it's mind over matter. Tapasya is why tapasya is required? And it is not tapasya, convenient tapasya. What is convenient tapasya? You choose which is the best comfortable chair in this room. Quickly go and put your purse there. This is mine. This is mine. It is reserved now. Not that wherever you get the place, there I'll sit. How does it matter? It's on a chair or on a floor or standing, it does not matter. So tapasya prepares us to face all adversities and remain focused on the goal that we have chosen for ourselves. What was the goal of Ravana Maharishi? Who am I? And in that pursuit of who am I, being available to himself as he is, he went through that tapasya without succumbing to thirst, hunger, without succumbing to unfolding his legs. Imagine Narayana Swami for so many years is sitting there without unfolding his legs from Padmasana. Our Ammaji, none of you came with me. Stanton came with me. We met one, what was her name? I can't remember, it's not coming now. So she was living 17,000 feet above sea level in the hills. So you go to Gangotri, you walk 24 kilometers to Gomukh, from Gomukh you climb to Tapovan, till Tapovan I have gone 15,000 feet. And from there then you climb 2,000 feet above, and there in a cave she lived 9 years. And doing her tapasya there, she got Akshay Patra Siddhi. And every traveler who used to come, because from there the army soldiers, they go to the border to China. Then trekkers, from there you can go, and it takes you 10 days to go over the glaciers and everything to Kedarnath from Gangotri. So anyone who used to come, they knew she was there, they will never go without meal. She will feed. Everything is available there. And 3-4 times I got the opportunity to meet her, sing with her, dance. You were there. She was there. She has danced with her. क्या नाम था मेरे को याद है, वसुमती or something like that. She was from Karnataka, and she was from a lower rung of the society, poor, tribal maybe, I don't know. But she used to clean the ashram, and the teacher told when he was breathing his last, you go from here. She said, will Lord give me darshan? The teacher said, what, Lord will give you darshan? You will be one with him, don't worry. But you don't stay here. You go to north. She kept going north, reached up to 17,000 feet. Now she left her body now. So, and she made tea for us, she gave biscuits to us, and beautiful singing she used to do. So you have to meet such masters, and she was considered a goddess in about 600 villages in that Gangotri area. So, koi bhi problem they used to go to her. Uneducated, never went to school in her life, but goddess incarnate, full powers. Okay. Powers is not that you have to see any powers. The fact that you are in her presence and you feel. See, how do you know a person is happy? Do air hostess also smiles? Mahatma also smiles. Who is happy? Air hostess? No. Air hostess has got smile on the lips and eyes, but she's got smile on the lips, but something corruption in the heart. Wait, I say again I had to search them for 1 hour. When he said, please come, please come.
Smile doesn't reach the eye.
But Mahatmas, the joy is not on the lips or in the eyes. It is emanating from the heart. So that what the previous verse said, that the sun is fully effulgent, the rays of it are reaching the senses also. And they are expressing from there as the smile. See? And that is what our this Vasumati Amma was there. मिलना कहीं ना कहीं इसलिए यात्राओं पे जाना चाहिए. You meet these somewhere, always someone comes across us. See? And Raman Maharishi, he also did intense tapasya. Tapasya does not mean comfortable tapasya. Tapasya means complete disregard to the body and complete commitment to the discipline that you have decided for yourself. See? So, Raman Maharshi, when he decided that he sat in his inquiry, where will I go and eat now? Where will the lunch come from? Will I eat 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day? He left home, that's it. He left home. What have we done? Come back home. I'm talking about myself. Under instructions from the teacher, but the journey was maybe some unfinished business, God knows. See? Kache hai abhi. Uncooked. Unripe. See? So tapasya is to be done. So while living in the family, if you are doing tapasya, if you are living a strict, disciplined life, suppose you have decided every day I am going to read 1 or 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita after getting up, taking shower, lighting lamp, then under no circumstances you are going to deviate from that. Just now our Rameshji said every night he finishes his emails before going to sleep. And yesterday, because of some other program, so it got delayed. But he finished his emails. No accumulation for the next day. You are doing the same thing. Your mind is emptying itself every day before going to sleep. No, but we are smart. Somewhere we have said, हाँ हो तो ठीक है, zero हो जा, कोई बात नहीं है, तो कल फिर आ जाना. One hook we have put in there. You come tomorrow again, and it comes back again. Whereas Raman Maharishi, complete. And so for that, disciplined approach is required. Daily practice. It's not when it is convenient, when we get time from our engagements in the world, and then in that in between time, oh, I got 1 hour free, I'll sit. Oh, I got half a minute free, I'll sit. No, that nahi hota. Discipline. And once you start disciplining, I'm telling you from example, when I used to incessantly I used to do japa. If I'm sitting on this chair and I do japa, after 1 month or so, the moment I sit on this chair, automatically the japa will start in my mind. The moment I touch now I'm doing it without mala, but before I used to do it with mala is always there. You see, mala is always there in the pocket. So the moment you touch the mala, the mantra automatically begins. You don't have to think also ki which mantra, in what speed, in what manner, in slowly or softly or loudly or nothing. Whichever way it has to, it starts. Immediately mind becomes integrated. See? This is the power of practice. The power of practice. I told him yesterday, go and sit on the chair if you are hurting. He said, no, I'll sit, so that I get the habit of sitting down. Sit, but relax. That then the real sitting will happen. Sukha asit iti asanam. Sukham asit iti asanam. Sitting is sitting in bliss, not sitting in body. Sitting in bliss. Then automatically body, without any effort, it will follow. It will automatically, wherever it is, it will be comfortable. See? But it requires a regular practice. Yoga is regular practice, pranayama is regular practice. You cannot do it in one moment. But all pranayama is unnatural. Breathing is natural. So what's the natural breath? Why do you do unnatural thing? Sitting naturally like this is natural. Wherever you are comfortable. Why you do asana? It is unnatural. Sitting in silence is natural. Why do you think it is unnatural? In meditation I am saying. See? So in that, so when he says here that he is unconcerned about his body and strict in the observance of his discipline, and then he says that averse to any sensory delights. He is totally not sitting in the senses. That is called shama. Shama is where even if the senses are open, mind is not leaking out through the senses. Raman Maharshi, you will see, he is never closing his eyes. He is always sitting with his eyes open. But nothing is capturing his mind or senses from the outside. And then he is a sage without anger or desire. Anger or desire, what is anger? Why does anger come? When desires are not satisfied, expectations are not met, then the anger comes. And why do desires come? Feeling the lack, incompleteness. Anything else? What Bhagavad Gita says? Desires arise only when your mind get attached to something or someone. When do you get attached? I am taking you backwards to the source. When do you get attached to something? When you identify with something, don't even have to identify. You expose your eyesight to this flower. Again and again I am seeing it here in front of me. It has gone into my memory. Again and again I am looking at the scriptures, the ideas that are present. They have gone into my mind. And now I want to think about them, I want to contemplate them, I want to read more about something like this. That is desire. And if I don't find a scripture, yeah, I have completed this also, I contemplate. Now there is nothing. How come there are no more scriptures available? I have to see. Desire. See? So, whenever you expose your senses to stimuli, once, no problem. Twice, already a problem. Thrice, attachment. Then whatever you are attached to, you will get identified. This is how marriages happen. This is how marriages happen. Even in arranged marriages, you never knew anything about the other person. I don't know how many are arranged here. You never knew. But continuous exposure, then you fall in love, you get attached. Now you cannot live without your husband or wife. You cannot live without your children. You cannot live without your car. You cannot live without your bed. Worst, you cannot live without your pillow. One person came to say, carried her pillow with her. क्या हो गया भाई? नहीं, without my pillow I cannot sleep on it. Many years ago. It's like that small baby who feels the comfort of the mum's shawl or mum's some chunni or something, because the smell, whatever the mum's hormone pheromones are there, and she feels at home, and that young girl is that she keeps carrying it everywhere. So we are like that. We carry our memories with us everywhere. So here, so he says that. So what did we say? Whenever we expose ourselves to stimuli, we get attached to the stimuli. When we get our mind gets attached to the stimuli, or as she said, identifies with the stimuli, then the desire arises. When desire arises, if the desire is not satisfied, it leads to anger. If desire is satisfied, it leads to greed. Greed can never be satisfied. It again leads to anger. Who is a sage? Who is free of desires, who is free and therefore free of anger. This is from Bhagavad Gita only, the story goes on further. But catch these, some points you remember that this is most important for me, I must not deviate, I must remember, it must go into our psyche, so that at a moment notice this information is available and you stop yourself from falling down. So the Ramana's actions were perfect, springing from the natural discipline of one living in harmony with nature. He never tried something, he never tried yoga, he never tried Trataka, he never tried pranayama, he never tried kundalini, he never tried studying the scriptures. You know that? Ramana Maharshi did not study scriptures. He studied scriptures after he got realized. Who taught him? Ganpati Muni, the one who's writing. And they studied together. देखो कैसे अजी and we are here one scripture after that is also okay, but now we are already cluttering our mind with so much information. That young boy, naturally empty, continued remaining in tune with nature, not forcing anything. By forcing, you create unnecessary ripples in your life. Go effortlessly. When there is hunger, go and eat. Don't overeat. When there is sleep, class going on, you sleep. You are comfortable. Who cares what others people think? You are comfortable. You are going with, you go with nature. Karate maroge to then go and sleep outside. If you snore, go and sleep outside. Natural. When we are in tune with nature, everything will start collapsing very quickly. Everything will start, you will start getting disidentified. Everything will start getting integrated very quickly. What is that integration? The mind integration. And that was our Ramana Maharshi. For that, discipline is required. Tapasya is required. Continuing. Vigata mohamalobha bhavanam. Vigata mohamaloma bhavanam. Shamitamatsaramutsavinam tada sada. Shamitamatsaramutsavinam sada. Bhavamahodadhitarana karmani. Bhavamohadadhitarana karmani. Pratifalena vinaiva sadodyatam. Pratifalena vinaiva sadodyatam. Together. Vigatamohamalobhamavavanam. Shamitamatsaramutsavinam sada. Bhavamahodadhitarana karmani. Pratifalena vinaiva sadodyamam. Free from infatuation, greed, distracting thoughts and envy, he is ever blissful, he is ever active, helping others to cross the sea of relative existence regardless of reward. Ramana Maharshi is still, because many people benefit by going to a Ramana ashram even today. So he is ever engaged in helping the various seekers or anyone who comes to him or thinks of him, and for what? See, someone asked Ramana Maharshi that time when he was there in the earlier 19th century, 20th century, it was the freedom movement time. So everyone asked him, Ramana Maharshi, you are, look at our Mahatma Gandhi. He is fighting the fight for freedom, freeing India. He is a freedom fighter. Don't you feel like you have to take part in the freedom fight? Are you not a son of this land? Are you not? Do you not want freedom from the occupying forces? He says, he is a freedom fighter. I am also a freedom fighter. He is fighting for the freedom of the land. I am fighting for the freedom. I am teaching, not fighting. I am teaching how to be free from I. That's the ultimate. So he says, I am also a freedom fighter. I am helping everyone to be free from the I, so that they are no more they are complaint boxes. Okay? And this was every saint's, every realized master's purpose is only this: to help people be free from I, because being I is equal to cyclical birth and death. If you have an individuality, you are susceptible to the repetition. What is repetition? Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. No, I have not died yet. Okay, waking, dream, sleep, waking, dream, sleep, waking. No, I keep awake all the time. Okay, thinking, not thinking, thinking, not thinking, thinking, not thinking. कहीं भी तुम पकड़ोगे, you will get caught somewhere, depending upon how subtle you are in your observation. So all this is cyclical. Breath is cyclical, thinking is cyclical, waking dream is cyclical, emotions are cyclical, concepts are changing. So we have to recognize that in spite of all this going on, we are untouched by all this that is going on. And that is what Ramana Maharishi's glance, Kataksha Netra, his glance used to help to quieten their minds. And that's what he's doing. And he's not doing it, catch you from the collar, come, I'll give you my glance. No, he was just being in his room. He didn't call anyone. He didn't call anyone. People came, people benefited, people went away. He never imposed anything on anyone. No imposition. See, that's when true benefit happens. Then you are natural. Imposition means you have accepted the difference. Imposition means what I say is correct, what you are doing is wrong. Imposition means you do what I say, otherwise. No, everyone is completely free. Why? Phenomena is existing in its own absence. What is there to change here? And what change? Everything is unreal only. The truth cannot be caught out there in the world. Ramana Maharshi has caught the truth. He is abiding in the truth as the self, and now his vision is everything is the self alone. Where is the otherness? So when we speak of this language, that he benefited the observers are, Ganpati Muniji is writing, it's not Ramana Maharshi saying, I am benefiting everyone. Ganpati Muni is saying that he is an embodiment of love, he is an embodiment of grace, in his presence all these things are happening. He is a tapasvi, he is controlled his senses. It is his observation of Ramana Maharshi. See, and then just as here when it says he is re- he is ever active helping others to cross the sea of relative existence regardless of reward. See, reward is again, I am putting efforts, I must get something in return. The word is paropakara, to benefit the creation. A tree by nature is benefiting everyone. It allows the villagers to cut the wood for burning. It gives fruit not for itself, for others. It gives shade not for itself, for others. It holds the earth not for itself, for so that the topsoil doesn't wash away with the rains. It gives accommodation to so many birds and animals and squirrels and snakes and everything. I don't know if you have seen really big trees. Have you ever seen really big trees? You go to Bodh Gaya, you see the banyan tree there. Huge. You go to Calcutta, it's from the same family. A huge, almost 2 kilometer wide circumference. And from banyan tree, the adventitious roots, the branches come out and then they hang down and they become root. They catch the earth and they become roots again. Another tree is created. Then it goes on. 2 kilometers. Huge. If when we were back in India, we used to climb onto neem trees and banyan trees. How huge trunks, 3, 4 of mine can be put together, maybe more, then one trunk. And we used to climb that. And the birds are up there, we can't reach up there. But we used to look at the what do you call it? The nests of the birds. So, in other words, all that is all extra information. Tree is there not for itself, only to serve one and all. The river is not for itself, but to serve all the people that are living, the land, the trees, the human beings. It's only serving. Sun is not for itself, but only giving the heat and light for the service of the entire creation, isn't it? Nothing for itself. Tree doesn't want anything in return. River doesn't want anything in return. Sun doesn't want anything in return. Sadhu also does not want anything in return. His whole being is only for blessings, for grace, for love, without expecting anything in return. Now, when we are looking at all these qualities that are being narrated by Ganpati Muni about Ramana Maharishi, these are the qualities that we must inculcate within ourselves. That's all. So here he says that free from infatuation, greed, distracting thought and envy, he is ever blissful. When Ramana Maharishi, when he had the first experience, this is now the devotion coming out of Ganpati Muni. When Ramana Maharishi had the out-of-body experience and he saw that he is not the body, he is someone else, it was so direct experience, he could have said, okay, I am the self, bye-bye, ciao, tata, body. But he chose to continue in the body. Ramchandraji, when he finished Yoga Vasishta, he realized himself. He could have said, okay, ciao, bye-bye, tata, bye-bye. But he continued because he didn't want to do this or not do this. However life unfolds. It took him to Vishwamitra, it took him to Ahalya, it took him to Mithila, it took him to Sita, it took him to Parshuram, it took him back to Ayodhya, then it took him to 14 years exile. So, but he could have stopped all this. There's nothing to do or nothing to gain, nothing to lose. I'm over, I'm done with. Story over. Like Jnaneshwar Maharaj at age 21, he was realized, he said, no, I don't want to be in the world anymore. He took samadhi and he's still sitting there. 760 years later. Raghavendra Swami similarly, he is still in the Sanjeevani Samadhi in Mantralaya. These are unheard of events in the Western psyche. They will not accept only. They will immediately dig and find out, is he still there? But we have record, because Jnaneshwar Maharaj came in the dream of Eknath Maharaj after 300 years. So, 460 years ago he came in the dream of Eknath Maharaj, because Eknath Maharaj has taken Jnaneshwar Maharaj as his guru. And in the dream he came and told him, hey, I am here and here in this place under this tree. So, and you come because the roots are strangling. He came, and the moment he dug there, he came by himself or maybe with his friends, I don't know. He was already singing Jnaneshwar Mauli, Jnana Dev Tukaram, Jnaneshwar Mauli, Jnana Dev Tukaram. They think only singing is glory. For him, he didn't have any physical guru but Jnaneshwar Maharaj, whom he had never seen. Ramana Maharishi had no guru. Only Arunachala. Huh? See? And when he came and dug, he found the Mahatma, Jnaneshwar Maharaj there. He cut all the roots. He says, and he felt blessed that I have met my guru. And he says, I am going to tell the whole world that I have come, met my guru, that Jnaneshwar Mauli, means the mother Jnaneshwara, is still here. He is not gone. And everyone can take the advantage of the blessings. He says, don't you dare do that. But still, he extracted that, okay, we will not disturb you by sending all the people, but where you are sitting, I will build a monument. So today where Alandi the temple is, 30-40 feet below, he is still sitting. And it is still benefiting so many people. You go there, such a vibration there. So these things, so what we are saying is that these Mahatmas and even Ramana Maharishi, they are, Ramana Maharishi retained the body for the benefit of the mankind. Ganpati Muniji is saying, Ramana Maharishi is not saying. Because from Ramana Maharishi's point of view, only the self is. And here, and in this manner, continuing in the 9th verse, Mata mameti nagaraj sutorupitham, Mata mameti nagaraj sutorupitham, Naganane bhajati yahi pita mameti, Naganane bhajati yahi pita mameti, Ankam harasya samavapya shirasya nena, Ankam harasya samavapya shirasya nena, Sachumbitasya girivrandhrakuto vibhutim, Sachumbitasya girivrandhrakuto vibhutim. Together, Mata mameti nagaraj sutorupitham, Naganane bhajati yahi pita mameti, Ankam raharasya samavapya shirasya nena, Sachumbitasya girirandhrakruto vibhutim. When Ganpati said, Mother is mine, and sat on the lap of Parvati, Kumara retorted, never mind, Father is mine, and got onto Shiva's lap and was kissed by him on the head. On this, Kumara, who pierced with his lance the Krauncha hill, Ramana is a glorious manifestation. So, Ganpati Muni sees Ramana Maharishi as the incarnation of Subramanyam Swami or Kartikeya. Who is he? He is the elder brother of Ganesha. Who is their father? Shiva and Parvati are their parents. And one day Ganeshji is cheeky, roly-poly, and Kartikeya, his elder brother, was already in his teens when he was born. So he said, Dada, look, I I'm sitting on my mother's lap, mother is mine. When he said like this, now, like what is this? Lavanya, this young girl is there in Bhagavad. She's only 4.5. So when I went to her house, and when I was leaving home, their place, I said, her mom is pregnant. I said, I am taking your mom. I love her very much. She says, but you love me also. Huh? First she said that. So, no, mummy, you cannot take mummy. So I said, no. You got two. You know, got daddy also, you got mummy also, and now you got new baby also coming. I'll take your mom. I am so alone. I got no one. She says, no. Then she's smart. She says, oh, you got a mother at home? I said, she's old. She cannot do anything. I want a young mother, who can take care of me. She started thinking, ye to gadbad ho gayi hai. And the father was smiling, mother was smiling. She's seeing daddy, mummy, both are smiling. And Swamiji is holding the mother's hand and slowly going towards the gate. And immediately she got disturbed. No, and suddenly somewhere it must have clicked to her. And she went, okay, mummy you take, but you bring her back, but till then daddy is there with me. You see? The same way, it's just a play. But she caught the play. She didn't get miserable because of that game. Many children will cry, their eyes out. Oh, yeah, how can you do this? She caught it. So same way our Kartikeya or Subramaniam Swami, when Ganesha said, my mother is mine, he said, father is mine. It's okay. You take one, I take one. And when he went and sat on the lap of Shiva, Lord Shiva, in our tradition, they don't give you smooch you on the cheeks or kiss you on the forehead. No, they only smell your forehead. And in that smelling of the forehead, he gives the Ashirwad to Kartikeya, and the Vibhuti which is on his body, it fell as a blessing on the head of Subramaniam. And that Subramaniam is our Ramana Maharshi. He incarnated as Ramana Maharshi. That is what, so this is his feeling towards the great master. And someone has, and master also said something somewhere, and someone else observed something, some experiences they must have had, I don't know that. And therefore he is saying that, therefore this verse, and he says that on the lap and was kissed by him on the head. Of this Kumara was pierced with his lance. The Krauncha hill, Ramana is the glorious manifestation. So this Kumar, another name for Kartikeya Kumar Kartikeya, or Subramaniam Swami, the elder brother of Ganesha. So here he is just using the word Kumara. Ramana is the glorious manifestation of that Kumara. Continuing, Vedadipakadamanottara kachapeshaihi Vedadipakadamanottara kachapeshaihi Yuktairdharadhara sushuptyamareshwaraischa Yuktairdharadhara sushuptyamareshwaraischa Sukshmamruta yugamrutena saha pranatya Sukshmamruta yugamrutena saha pranatya Sampanna shabda patalasya rahasyamartham Sampanna shabda patalasya rahasyamartham Together Vedadipakadamanottara kachapeshaihi Yuktairdharadhara sushuptyamareshwaraischa Sukshmamruta yugamrutena saha pranatya Sampanna shabda patalasya rahasyamartham. He is the mystic import of the mantra Om Vachat Bhuve Namaha. Here the old big commentary on it. Ganapati Muni is referring, 10th verse. He is the mystic import of the mantra Om Vachat Bhuve Namaha. Salutations to the fire of Brahman, whence emerges the word. In Christianity also they say first was the word. We also say that the word, where did the word appear from?
Space.
Word is it is appeared from the space. Another, and what is the sound of space? Okay, I should have deviate. What is the sound of space? Om. Unexpressed Om, isn't it? And it is silent, it is a continuous hum that is going on. When it expresses, the first syllable is Om as you are chanting it right now. Then from this Om, then all the vowels and consonants come out. See? So, who is he here when he says that he is the mystic import of this Om Vachat Bhuve Namaha? This is the mantra for Kartikeya Swami, and salutations to the fire. Any expression, see, how should I put it? Any expression is only possible with the element fire. So, what is the element in your throat which is expressing as the word? It is that fire element. Agni is the base because of which this Shabda is coming out. Shabda is, because Shabda is unexpressed. Where is space? In the mind. Mind is silent, Om is continuously going on. You don't know, that's a different matter. Now you know, so become available to it. But the thought in the mind alone expresses as the word in the mouth. But what is that medium which helps the inner thought to express as the external sound? It is the fire element. It is the fire element. What is space? Is formless. Air is formless. Fire has a form. Water has a form. Earth has a form. So, in these five elements, where is the form coming? Fire element. You cannot see space. You cannot see air. But you know it is there. But to make it manifest, that it is accessible, you can catch it, you can feel it, it is the fire element. And therefore here when he says that salutations to the fire of Brahman, whence emerges the word. So what is this fire? This fire is the fire of tapasya. This fire is the fire of contemplation. This fire is the fire of remaining steadfast in your essential nature, abiding in your essential nature. And when the words come out of that abidance, because the mind has to do its job, manifestation and manifestation, when words come out of that, then they are meaningful. You see? And if you take it the other way, if you are chanting Om, you hold on to Om, it will take you back to the source. So forget all the other words, take the source of the words. What is the source of the words? Om. Where do you do it? In your mouth, in your throat. Chant loudly, slowly it will become subtle, slowly it will take you back to the source. Om is the only syllable. If you focus on U and Ma, it will deliver you the world. If you focus on the beginning of the Om or the conclusion of the Om, it takes you beyond the world. If you practice only chanting waking world is conquered. If you practice again and again, you will conquer the dream world. If you chant you will conquer the deep sleep world. Meaning you will be undisturbed by waking and dream. Don't you put your child to sleep? But you, while doing this, while going from to U to Ma, you become aware From where is ma beginning and where is ma concluding, suddenly you transcend Om. It delivers you to its source. This is the power of Om. So here he says salutations to the fire of Brahman. And what is that fire of Brahman? That Om is the fire of Brahman. It's the expression of that fire of Brahman. It is not the fire, the physical fire. It is the inner fire, which is born of contemplation. Whence emerges the word. We will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Be alert everyone, we will not meet at 2 o'clock, but we'll meet at 1:30.
Okay.
So 1:30 to 2:30 is the class. Okay? And same way we will again take only half an hour break and prepone the second class. So we can go home and sleep. Hari Om, enjoy your lunch.